Between my video about Puabi a couple days ago and then Seema's 2 videos about Puabi today, I guess we've decided it's Puabi week, and I'm all about it, so let's keep going. In my last video on Puabi, someone asked the very good question, why Puabi looks white in the picture that was on the cigarette card from the 30s that I showed, and I want to talk about that today. So this is how Puabi's outfit was on display at the Morgan Library when I saw it in January. And this is how Puabi's headdress was first displayed at the Penn Museum after it was excavated from Tomb 800 at Ur. Leonard Woolley was the director of the joint excavation between the British Museum and the University of Pennsylvania, and his wife Catherine actually was the one to make all the choices and put this together. And then a year later, in 1929, the curator of the Babylonian section of the Penn Museum, Leon Legrain, decided to do a different reconstruction of Puabi with the headdress, and notice the choice in eyebrow too. I couldn't find a color picture of this reconstruction, but it looks like she's pretty white here too. And here's a picture of Legrain adjusting the reconstruction, and she's even whiter than this white guy in this picture. So it's very clear that they depicted her with having very light skin. And of course, we're talking about Puabi, who is a Middle Eastern woman, and it seems very unlikely, although we don't know for sure, that her skin would be lighter than mine, and I'm very white. And this is a bigger problem of Assyriology and ancient history more broadly. Depictions of ancient Mesopotamians are very often very white, and it is not likely at all that ancient Mesopotamian people would have had light skin. They would have been perceived by modern people as probably brown. And it is important to note that ancient Mesopotamians did not have a concept of race like we do in the modern world. Race is a social construct, and it manifests differently in different cultural contexts and in different time periods, and ancient Mesopotamians just did not categorize people according to skin color. There are texts that mention people having different skin color, but there was no judgment associated with that observation. It was just something about a person, and there was no value judgment or moral judgment as there is in more recent history. Legrain based his reconstruction on this figurine that was excavated at the site of Girsu, but the figurine is dated to about 500 years after Puabi would have been alive, which is the first problem. Legrain also makes this argument that how people are depicted in ancient Mesopotamian art is how they saw themselves, which falls into the trap that people fall into now, that realism is the only good art. But of course, people have imaginations and can make art that is different than real life and different from how they actually appear in real life. And honestly, I have mixed feelings about the current display of Puabi's outfit on the current sort of neutral mannequin form. Yes, I appreciate that the reconstruction doesn't make any assumptions about Puabi's makeup or eyebrows because we don't have any information about that. But it's also concerning to me that it removes Puabi's brownness. There's already so much whitewashing of ancient Mesopotamian history, and I think it's really important to remember the fact that ancient Mesopotamian people would not have been viewed as white if they time traveled into the modern world. Again, like I said, they didn't have a concept of race like we do in the modern world, but how we view ancient history and how we view modern people through history is heavily influenced by all these systems of oppression and structures that continue to impact people on the basis of their skin color today. So I think we really need to keep in mind the fact that ancient Mesopotamians weren't white. And this is a bigger problem that Assyriology as a field has to deal with. It's probably no surprise to you that Assyriologists are mostly male and white, and I think most of them are afraid to talk about race, like most white people are. To be clear, I'm a white person too, but I think if we actually want to dismantle systems of oppression, white people have to understand their place as oppressors. Yes, you might not be intentionally racist, but your actions have unintentional consequences on people on account of your white privilege and systems of white supremacy that continuously privilege you in every aspect of your life. So yeah, ancient Mesopotamians didn't have a concept of race, but how we depict ancient Mesopotamians says something about our modern world and how we're thinking about race now. So we need to consider that.